Hello and welcome to AutoEV and the first in a new series of films called Electric Icons. In these films what we're going to be looking at is classic cars that have been given a new lease of life by companies who are fusing the past with the future. By doing so, they're going to appeal to a new generation of driver and buyer in a world where fossil fuel is, well, no longer needed and perhaps even frowned upon. Now these cars don't need to exist, they don't need to exist at all, but they do so purely by the desire to keep the flame burning for them. They won't be like a regular road test because we can't compare them to their contemporaries, of course we can, but we do still want to hear your comments. And of course, I'm always going to ask you to like the videos, subscribe to the channel and press the little bell button down below so you receive a notification of when the next video goes live. So, without much further ado, welcome to Electric Icons and welcome to AutoEV. So what car have we chosen for the first in this new series? Well, it may surprise you to know it's a car that I don't have a particular affection for, shall we say. It's this, the 2CV, the deux chevaux, the Tin Snail. Britain gave us the Mini, Germany gave us the Beetle, Italy gave us the wonderful Fiat 500. This was France's contribution. An awkward looking thing with a recalcitrant gearbox and a wheezy old two-cylinder engine. Yet, I must be alone, or in the minority certainly, for thinking along those lines because they remained in production for 42 years. They sold them by their thousands. They even made them in Slough in England. They made pickups out of them. They made vans out of them. Good grief, even James Bond drove one. So maybe it's time I gave it a bit of a second chance. But as this is AutoEV, this is no ordinary 2CV. Of course, it's an electric conversion and it's carried out by the 2CV shop, one of the UK's leading specialists in the little French car. They are based down in Wiltshire. So, what have they done, and have they done enough to make me fall for the 2CV? Now, powering the 2CV is a front-mounted 20 kilowatt electric motor. 20 kilowatts is roughly just over 20 brake horsepower. Don't scoff. The original petrol engine car produced around about that figure as well, so actually it's not much different. And in terms of weight, there's only 30 kilograms more in terms of electric gubbins in here than there would be if it had a piston engine up front. But remember, of course, the 2CV never had any sporting pretensions. It wasn't like the Mini with the Cooper or the Fiat 500 with the Abarth. This was France's contribution to mobilise the people of the country. And that's all it needed to do. And that's what this does. And your battery pack, well, that's back here. 10 kilowatt hour battery, giving a range of about 65 miles. Now don't scoff at that either, because let's be honest, how would you actually use this car? Would you need to do much more? I have to be honest and say, I'm not sure I'd want to drive a 2CV much more than 65 miles. So it's probably perfectly adequate. And charging, well, that's done back here, and you can just do that through a 3-pin domestic plug. It would take about 3.5 hours to top the car up to full from completely flat. You can buy an adapter for a Type 2 charging cable if you want, if you've got a 7 kilowatt wall box. You can even buy an adapter for a CCS charger, but just bear in mind the car will only take a certain amount of charge, so that's probably not really necessary. And 3.5 hours, well, probably okay for you, isn't it? This is a joyful little car. Of course it's going to have limited appeal, of course it is. But for those who a 2CV does appeal to, this is the answer. Now, as I said at the beginning of this film, I was never the biggest fan of the 2CV. So perhaps electrifying it can change my mind. And you know what? I think it has. Gone's that kind of wheezy little two-cylinder flat twin. It's just, there's something quite nice about this. And I can genuinely see sort of like south of France or some little sort of like French village, or the sort of like back roads in the countryside in Wiltshire where we are, or down in Cornwall, I can see this, the appeal with this. It's really quite nice. It's fun. Yeah. Now, it's never going to be as refined as the Hyundai Ioniq 5 I drove down in, but that's missing the point completely. Like I said right at the start, we can't compare these to contemporary cars at similar price because, well, that would just be, well, stupid if I'm honest. But out here in the countryside with the roof back, I kind of get it. It's fun. Now, performance, as I said, isn't going to be the strong point of the car. It's, you know, I'm sitting here doing, you know, around about 40 miles an hour, and it feels perfectly adequate, if I'm being honest with you. Drive is taken up really, really well. Darren, who runs the 2CV shop that do the conversions, he's disconnected the clutch in this car because you just put it into third or fourth gear and set off, and that's it. The car just does it. I'm currently in third, and it's absolutely fine. You don't need to change gear in the car at all. Otherwise, you just sort of like, well, you know, press the accelerator on the right and the brake in the middle and steer this round thing, and the car works. I really like it. And as I say, just round these little kind of narrow kind of roads that we're on today, it works really well. It keeps up with kind of traffic. The ride quality is very good. That's the one thing I will say is, you know, you don't feel like you're sitting on something that's just like you're sitting on a piano that's just been pushed down a flight of stairs. But then it's a Citroen, so you'd expect the ride quality to be good. But it hasn't lost any of the character of the 2CV, other than, as I say, that sort of like clattery engine up at the front. Otherwise, the car is as characterful and as fun and as, yeah, it's a 2CV. That noise you hear, by the way, is just the back brakes. There's, Darren was saying, he's got something to do to them just to make them slightly better. It picks up well, and I tell you what, I can see this round about sort of like London or Paris. This would be phenomenal bombing around the streets of Paris. It just I really like it. I really do. It's putting a smile on my face, which is something a 2CV, oh, there's a really big tractor there. See, benefits of having a really narrow car. It's something a 2CV's never really done for me. Put a smile on my face. You are winning me over, little Frenchie, you really are. Now let's have a chat about what these cars are all about. You know, when this series that we're doing, as I say, electric icons, you can't justify these in the way of justifying, you know, a modern Super Mini or any kind of other EV or SUV. It is like having a classic car. There is no doubt about that. You know, they are expensive. But if you look at the way that, you know, sort of like, you know, the normal classic car prices have gone, and you're future-proofing it by doing this, you know, if you want to stand out, you want something a little bit different, why not? Why not do that? The 2CV is a car that has an appeal to a certain type of people. You might have had one when you were younger. You maybe learned to drive in one. Maybe your parents had one. Maybe you just used to see them bombing around when you were on holiday in France. And this is it. This is the way of bringing that into the modern day. I do. I really like it. I really like this car. It's a lot of fun. What a lovely day. Just a shame I'm not in the south of France. Never mind. Wiltshire's nice enough. Now, believe it or not, there is actually some brake regeneration built into this as well. So when you lift off, whilst it's not one pedal driving, not close to it, obviously as you lift off the motor is then putting charge back into the battery. So you do have that, as I say, form of brake regeneration, which is good. And I tell you what else is good about the 2CV is it's got a bloody good turning circle. So you can do that. There's something to be said about driving like this. You don't need to be driving like your hair's on fire in the latest supercar. It's a simpler way. And by converting these classic cars, you're back in touch with that sort of simpler way of driving, and I like that. If I had the funds available, I have to admit, the one thing I'd love to have done with my old Bentley T2, which was the last classic I had, was convert it to EV power, because that would have been lovely. I mean, the whole idea of a Bentley or a Rolls Royce is that kind of silent luxury. That would have been perfect for an EV conversion. It's certainly been a lot cheaper than trying to put fuel in the thing as well. But this, in the right environment, it's a joy. It's an absolute joy. For 30 years it's taken me to appreciate the 2CV. 30 years. And an EV conversion, obviously. Powering it by electricity just makes so much more sense. You don't have to use that horrible gearbox, and you don't have to listen to that thrashy little twin cylinder up front. And you know what? It kind of makes people smile. 2CV is a happy little car. It's a happy little car, and people like them. People like seeing them. And I don't think you see enough of them these days. And it's odd if you think about it. Citroen they've never gone down really the route that Mini did, or Fiat have done, and Volkswagen have tried to reinterpret the 2CV for a modern age. They just haven't bothered. They've concentrated on more kind of run-of-the-mill mainstream cars. And you know, it's thanks to the likes of Darren at the 2CV shop that we're still able to enjoy cars like this without, you know, Citroen making a little bit of a hash of trying to do a modern interpretation of it. Oh, look at that. There's people over there. There's people with electric cars over there, modern electric cars. Let's go and find out what they think of this. So I've been out driving the 2C EV today, and I've just bumped into Terry and his wife, who've got an electric Hyundai Kona, and I just thought I'd get your opinion. Terry, what do you think? I mean, it's a 2CV, it's converted to electric power. As an electric car driver, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I think it looks really cute. I really love the idea. I mean, I like classic cars anyway.
Yeah.
So I've actually looked into Mori 1000 conversions.
Okay.
But it seems really expensive at the moment to do it. Well, there's a local firm to us, and they're charging quite a lot of money, like £30,000, and it'll put 100 miles of battery in, which I thought was a lot. But the concept, I think it's the way forward personally, because not everyone wants to buy new, and there's that possibility. I gather the conversions are relatively easy to do.
Well, I mean, this here, if you, there's three ways you can do the electric 2CV. You can either buy the conversion kit, which is £16,500.
Okay.
Or you can take it along to the 2CV shop, which is just down the road here,
yeah.
And they can do for you on one of their cars, and it's around about £30,000.
It is.
Or you can do an actual bespoke build, where you get a brand new galvanised chassis, brand new panels and everything, yeah, and build it to how you want, and that's around about £45,000. Yeah. So it is expensive.
At the moment it is. I suspect it might come down a bit.
Yeah, I think so, with battery technology.
And what sort of, I I'm asking you a question. What sort of range do you get?
Well, this is 65 miles, in
Right,
fairness.
so it's a city car.
It's a city car, that's exactly it. Or if you're a house in the country or down in the middle of France or something, it's ideal for that.
Yeah.
Be perfect for it. But it charges off a 3-pin plug. It's a 10 kilowatt hour battery.
Perfect.
Charges off a 3-pin plug, and that's it. But
I love it. I think it's a brilliant.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. It's fun. It's fun. I'd say electric. I'd never. I know it sounds like an advert.
Yeah.
But after I started in June driving electric cars, within 3 or 4 days, range anxiety became irrelevant, and I definitely wouldn't go back to petrol now.
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, when you drive it, it's hard.
Yeah.
And, as
and
I
the
say,
cars are fun.
yeah, absolutely. And there's more and more coming out, and there's some really good product coming out. That's brilliant. Terry, it's lovely to meet you. Thank you ever so much for your time today.
Thank you so much.
So all in all, this is a joyful little car. It puts a smile on your face, and I think that's the whole thing with classics. They have to put that smile on your face, and the 2C EV does that, and it does it really, really well. Yes, it can be expensive, but what classic car isn't these days? And I have to say, it's certainly won me over. Yeah, this is a joyful little car. I really like it. So, how much is that smile on your face going to cost you? Well, there are 3 routes to owning an electric 2CV. There is the first route where you buy a conversion kit for your current piston-powered 2CV, and that costs just under £17,000 from the 2CV shop. Or they will take a donor car that they already have and build you one up for around about £29,000. The third option, however, is you get a brand new 2C EV, and by that I mean it's a brand new galvanized chassis, a brand new body shell, brand new panels, which are all, you know, corrosion proof. They're all, you know, coated and everything to sort of like future proof them going forward. And if you think it's just some guy knocking it up in a shed that then sells the conversion, you'd be very much mistaken. Not only do the 2CV shop fully warranty all their work, but the conversion kit itself is homologated as well, so it's had to pass a lot of stringent safety standards. So given that, and given how much car restoration can cost these days, classic car restoration, it almost looks good value for money. And if you think that's cool, get a load of this. It's an electric 2CV van. Now, if you've got a small business, you want to stand out and be sustainable and ecological, I can't think of a better way than doing it than this. Imagine one of these round about town. Now, they're not going to be cheap when deliveries start in 2022. It's going to be over £40,000, but potential range could be over 100 miles. And in the back, well, there's 1,900 litres of carrying capacity. That's a lot of baguettes. A lot of baguettes. And of course, the love affair of the 2CV has been kept alive by the likes of Darren and his gang down here at the 2CV shop down in Wiltshire. Tell us a bit more about the business, Dan. How did you get started and how did you get involved in an EV conversion?
Well, like a lot of good businesses, it was a passion to start with. It was a passion of mine, and sort of 20 years ago we set up a 2CV garage. And it's gone from there actually, because we are the UK distributor for Mahari Club Cassis in the south of France. And with them we have developed this electric kit.
Oh, perfect. And you've seen quite a demand for it now. I mean, obviously.
Yeah, we're taking some orders. We probably won't start installing the kit until March. But yeah, no, the demand is being higher than I thought it would be. You know.
And is that people that already got 2CVs, or is it people that's maybe new to 2CVs? Are you seeing a nice even split? How do you find it?
It's sort of split. We got a few to do. Well, it's customers got a 2CV. We got to pick them up, bring them down, convert them to electric, deliver the car back. They live in places like Oxford, London, that sort of place. Those sort of places.
Places with an electric car makes absolute sense.
Yes, it does, and especially with London, with all the cost involved in driving a car in the city. We got 1 or 2 rebuilds to do. Customers have booked their car in to be rebuilt, and they have decided to go electric. And then obviously we got the van coming on. Hopefully next summer that should be available.
I was just saying, I mean, that's a perfect if you're a small business. you want to be sustainable and you want it to be, and that's perfect, isn't it? Really,
Yeah,
it stands out.
Yeah, if you're a small business in a city, it makes you stand out from the crowd, most definitely.
Yeah, perfect. Well, as I say, listen, thanks ever so much for having me down here.
No
today and
problem
giving me
at all.
the opportunity to drive the car. I mean, it's phenomenal. It's actually won me over. I was never the biggest 2CV fan, but I have to say, electrifying, it's really it's won me over. So thanks ever so much for the opportunity.
No problem at all. Thanks for coming down.
So there we have it, the first in our new series of electric icons. And what do we think? Well, the Tin Snail has finally won me over. Converting this into an EV just makes so much sense. Think about it. For the same price as a new Honda E or Mini Electric, you could be taking your kids to school in something as quaint and quirky as this. Or if you've got that little French chateau and you want to leave something there in the garage to bomb around in, it's perfect. Or if you had your Sunseeker moored down in Monaco, a Lamborghini Ferrari is not going to cut it down there. They're 10 a penny. This is what you want. It's perfect. It finally makes sense. Now, I'm a big advocate of converting some classic cars to electric, but obviously only for those cars that they're in plentiful supply. I mean, I wouldn't, for instance, advocate somebody turning it to a Ferrari 250 GTO, for instance, but a 1985 Porsche 911, a little Mini Cooper, a 2CV, well, why not? There's plenty to go around. And as I say, it's future-proofing the car. It's been the perfect car to start our series with. Thank you to Darren and the gang here at the 2CV shop. And of course, thank you to you for continuing to watch AutoEV. Please do remember to like and subscribe to the channel and press the little bell button that's down there for notification of when our next video goes live. And of course, it goes without saying, head over to the autoev.co.uk website where you see all the latest road tests and reviews of all the latest new electric cars and news from the EV world. And remember, we're also on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and things like that, so make sure you follow us and give us a like. But as for me, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you again soon. So, you've watched our video. It's now my job to tell you to like and subscribe and press the little bell button to receive notification of when our next video is uploaded.